caught me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. Well, we are here today, and I started to say sunny California, but I'm not in California. I got back to Chicago, and actually I was in Arizona. And then tomorrow I'm going to Colorado for a speaking engagement. But yesterday we had a phenomenon here, either yesterday or day before yesterday, and it was called dirty rain. And it seemed, I had my car in the garage and I saw all these cars and they looked like they had been driving through mud. And then I found out on TV that we had dirty rain. It was a dust storm out west. It got into the rain clouds. And so when it rained dirt. Can you imagine? So people were so upset about their cars. But then I started thinking, you know what? We are breathing this, people. You should be more concerned about breathing in this stuff rather than your cars. But anyway, well, I'm going to go back to something. You had a month for Dr. Jan's relationship prescriptions. So now I'm wondering if you did it. Okay? So what was the first week's prescription? It was listen actively. And what's the dosage? What was the dosage? Take 15 minutes daily to listen without interrupting. The instructions: nod, maintain eye contact, and reflect back what you heard. And what was the warning? Skipping doses may cause misunderstanding and distance. Now, this was the first week. And some of you reported back that you were doing it. And a lot of you never reported back. Okay, so you can start over again with week 1. Now, what was week 2? Speak with I statements. Dosage. You should use I feel or I need. Do it 3 times a week. And your instructions were to share feelings without blaming. And the warning: overuse of "you always say this," "you always do this," may trigger defensiveness on the other side. And thank you. Even though some of you did not do week 1, you did week 2. So I thank you for that. And week 3, pause before reacting. Take 1 deep breath before replying in tense moments. Actually, you can count to 3. And what were your instructions? Create space between emotion and response. And the warning: immediate reactions often cause unnecessary conflict. I only got 2 people who reported back and said, you know what? Not only did I have to breathe, I had to take some deep breaths. Okay. All right. So those are my relationship tips. And you had a whole month. And next week we will go on to Jan's prescriptions, week 4. Now, let's get to the meat of the show. My guest today, his name, and I love his name, is Reality Allah. He is a Chicago-based relationship coach. And for you who live in the Chicagoland area, Southside. He's a community leader and a creative voice whose work bridges personal growth, love, and social impact. He holds a degree in psychology and a master's in inner city study and urban education. Also, he is a certified relationship coach specializing in ethical I want to talk about this. Non-monogamy, helping individuals and couples build honest, intentional, and emotional healthy connections. Also, he serves as director of violence prevention, and for those who thought you knew him but you didn't, because he is a part of my Toastmasters group. He also expresses relationships themes through music, and he performs under the name Reality the God. So when I say the God, it's THA God. And he has songs that he's released like Room for More, and It Really Doesn't Matter, and Pretty Up. So I want to bring to you my guest this morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, Reality Allah. Well, hello there, Reality Allah. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm great. How you doing this evening, Dr. Foreman?
I am doing great. Reality. I had to Google you. Now, Reality is a part of MJM Speakers Toastmasters Club in Chicago. And every meeting that we would have, we would get another little snippet of who he is. And so I decided to Google you. And good grief, you got like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages on Google all about what you do. So I just really want to commend you. So let's start at the very, very beginning. How did you become a community organizer? How
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to your viewers, and I appreciate that. Community organizing probably started with my grandmother, Leah Hamilton. She going over her house on the weekends. She used to cook dinners for the neighborhood, Sunday dinners, things of that nature. She was also the candy lady. So bringing communities together was one of the things I learned from my grandmother, going out in the neighborhood. And my grandmother would feed the homeless. She would oftentimes take in people who nobody else would take. She was a landlord. She had boarder rooms where she would rent rooms out to different people, whether they were returning home from prison or had a record or was getting some type of SSI. She did it all. So it started there, where my love for community and my respect for community, no matter your background or nothing. And so it's a saying now, we don't judge, we just listen. I learned that when I was 10 years old with my watching her.
Okay. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So unfortunately for me, although I was brought up in a pretty decent home, the allure of the streets really captivated my young mind back then. And growing up watching the 80s drug dealers and the crack epidemic, I was impacted by that. Getting caught up in the streets and gangs and drugs and everything like that. I was later targeted by law enforcement because all of my mentors had went to prison or strung out on drugs. So here I am, young and flashy, making all this money, and I didn't do drugs or alcohol. My mother was a teacher, so I graduated with straight A's. So I was considered someone of interest. Then I had a lot of influence in my neighborhood at the age of 19. And when law enforcement came to me and kind of was like, hey, we need you to work with us, and I refused, they made me a promise. They said that, hey, if you don't, within a short period of time, you're either going to be dead or in prison. And I know that a lot of people tell young kids that that's more like a cliche, a warning. But approximately a year later, I was in prison serving 85 years.
Oh my
Yeah. And so when at my sentencing, I was charged with something called accountability. So that means if you like the top person in a group or organization, you're accountable for all of their actions, whatever crimes they commit, whatever they do, you can be held accountable. It was kind of a little paper thin law back in the 95 when it first came out. But I was one of the first ones sentenced under it. The judge told me at the time, I was 20 at the time, that I was one of the worst types of criminals because I had a lot of resources. I was articulate, smart, and I had the ability to influence a lot of people. So he was giving me a 20-year-old kid, 85 years in prison, so to disencourage anybody else that wanted to come behind me and think that they could do what I could do. So basically, some young, rich black kid that getting his money by illicit means, he wanted to discourage them, not to encourage other people to do crimes and get into criminogenic behavior. So I went to prison at the age of 21, and I ultimately fought for my freedom and found the technicality of my case. Police was corrupt. Uh, and if we know what was going on in the 90s, you know what was going on in the 90s with Chicago PD. And I was released from prison in 2017. All praises due. And so 2000, maybe 2012, 2013, I knew I was coming home, and I really started thinking about what do I want to do when I come home. I don't want to be a gang leader. I don't want to be selling drugs. I don't want to do none of that. And at the time, I had promised some people that were sticking by me that I would change my life and I would come home and do something different with my life. And that's when I really got into trying to use my influence to try to get people to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing. And so that's kind of how I started getting into kind of like social services and inner city studies. Went back to school, and I wanted to study human behavior, and what was making us do all of these bad things. And so that's kind of how my interest got to it. And when I came home, I basically came home my first day without seeing my family or anything. I filed my lawsuit against the city that same hour, and then the next hour I was um, in this violence prevention organization's office with my resume, telling them, "Y'all better hire me, or y'all gonna be in my, or I'm gonna be in y'all way." You know, I had no experience. Oh, they was like, "Whoa, who is you?" And it was this one older guy named Big House. He rest in peace. He said, "Oh, I know who dude is. I remember him from the 90s. Y'all better hire him." And they hired me on the spot. And I got trained, and the rest is history. Now I'm the director.
Wow. I mean, you are such an inspiration, for those who, unfortunate things like that happen to them, because you could have just said, you know what, when I get out of here, I'm going to be, worse than I was like when I went in. So let me ask you this. You said like the head of an organization. Was it a gang?
Yes.
Okay. So where'd you grow up? On the south side?
Yep. I grew up in the South Side, right where that library is at. That was my territory.
That was your territory, and you were top dog. I mean, you were the head.
That's what
Wow.
they say. But
Wow.
mind you, I was 17, 18 years old, had, 40 to 50 guys. It wasn't like a big, wide, thing. It was 40 to 50 guys at the most, maybe 70 to 80 at my peak. Just controlling like maybe 14 to 15 block radius from
Oh my
Loomis back to Halsted. And my mother, God bless her, she was doing all she could to save me, like everything to save me. She was a teacher at Inglewood High School for over 20 years. So she was no stranger to the lifestyle that I was living.
goodness.
I did a pretty good job of living a double life, being the youngest of five children, the only fully black child in my family. My mother married a white man in the 60s. That's why I was like, damn, you the most bravest woman I know.
Especially in the 60s, right?
Yeah, so I'm the product of her divorce and meeting my father, and my father being this pro-black guy into finance and money and things of that nature. So uh, it was just seeing that childhood kind of just was kind of crazy. Seeing my biracial siblings, which I had nothing in common with, and then my father's side of the family, which was real cool cats back. Some of them were still living their 70s dreams when in the 80s. The cats that still talking like they jive turkey pimps and stuff like that.
Okay.
So those were my uncles and my influence. And religiously, my mother grew up as a Baptist. Her and my grandmother grew up as a Baptist. My father's side of the family more like Moorish Americans and on a more Islamic sects and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. So way back then you were showing your leadership skills.
I ain't had no choice. The crack epidemic hit my hood so hard that all of the people that I looked up to in the streets literally went down in like 2 years. Like
Really?
it hit, like I'm talking about, like these guys were making money hands over fists, and then the next thing you know, they start using, boom, and wiped them out. And then of course some of them went to prison, and that created this big, huge vacuum for little kids like myself at the age of, I remember at the age of 15, I had got out of juvenile, and my best friend at the time, he said, all our big homies are on crack. I said, what? No, not the stuff they was just selling a year ago, right? He's like, yeah, they all smoked out then, and it was like, what we gonna do? And that's how everybody was kind of looking up to me. And that's one of the reasons I never did drugs or alcohol. I
Yeah.
was scared. It impacted my family, my sisters, my brothers, and everybody around me. And I was like, I don't know. I just remember when people was trying to sneak and smoke cigarettes and things of that nature. So to this day, I never smoked a cigarette. I've never had a drink of alcohol. I never did any drug. I barely even take aspirin because I am absolutely terrified of being addicted to something. I seen what it do to my community.
Wow. So with the organization that you had now,
Mhm.
basically what do you do and what does the organization do? Is it focused mostly on men, or, males?
No, it's
Okay.
focused on violence. So violence is looked at from our peer review as an epidemic, and we employ people that fight that epidemic of violence in our community. We target it, whether it's through mediations, peace circles, whether it is through victim services, where we go in and talk to grieving mothers. We have money to provide families who's lost loved ones or been impacted to people through gun violence. And we just there to mentor young men and steer them away, what we call gang intervention. But we also have some preventative measures as well. And so that's what we do. I'm the director of violence prevention initiatives. So I head up all of the program. I design curriculum like cognitive behavior therapy, curriculum for individuals that may be going through some traumatic things, which we all go through trauma. So I design what they call cognitive behavior interventions to kind of intervene in that trauma related incidences that people go through.
Oh, okay, okay. So so is there success? And I'm asking you this because on the news, and I don't know if it's just because that's what they focus on. We hear so much about not gang violence, so to speak, but young men just, shooting people and
Yeah, interpersonal beef. And I'm so glad you asked me, is there success? Because
okay.
this is a really feckless job. Like you really is not, people don't do this job for the money. Obviously, it's not done for accolades or nothing like that. One murder is too many. One shooting is too many. One child getting injured by a gun is too many. However, in the 90s, at the peak of all of the gun violence, we averaged about 700 and something murders a year in the city of Chicago, just to give you some context. This year, we have had the lowest murder rate in 60 years. It have been cut in half theoretically. The murder rate has been cut in half. Violent crimes have been cut in half. Other gun related crimes have been reduced by 60 to 70%. I know that that's not what the media wants to put out there because it's not really sexy. But I'm very proud of the work that everybody is doing to reduce gun violence in our communities, and I don't think it get highlighted enough because now with the internet and the news sensationalizing every shooting again like it's the 90s, it is kind of you got to beware. You got to be cautious to say, hey, well, crime is down because there's, oh no, what about the little girl that just got shot, or what about my family member that just got shot? How dare you tell me it's crime down when one of my loved ones got shot? So it's not something that we always get accolades for, but the numbers are there clearly to see for people to see. And these are not no fuzzed up numbers by the government. I have no Trust me, I got convicted by the city of Chicago, so I'm not gonna cover for them for numbers. I'm in the trenches. My team is out there. My mother still lives in the neighborhood. I'm out there every day, and I see the impact that the work is having on individuals.
Okay. All right. So I got a text here. It's a question.
Mhm.
Who or what did you most lean on to help you to transform your life?
It's a good question. I married my best friend when I was in prison. She was somebody that I was not interested in romantically when I was in the streets,
Mhm.
and was not even attracted to her. Actually, we didn't even like each other. But she eventually became real cool with me. We had like this little secret promise not to say no to one another. It's a long story behind that. I think I told you that, and when I was in Toastmasters when I first met you, and when she came back into my life when I was in prison, she vowed to help me get out of prison. She came in my life around 4 or 5 years after I had already been in there. At this time, had lost the money, had lost the friends, and the reality was sitting in, no pun intended, of me actually doing 80 something years in prison. And she just came in and lit a spark under me, and as a result, I really started gaining my confidence back and things of that nature. So she was saying one day, I just asked her like, hey, look, you're doing all of these things for me. I really appreciate everything you're doing, but it really don't seem like it's nothing in it for you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What can I do to repay you, knowing that it's a 50-50 chance that I might not come home? She said,
Okay.
she said, just give me your last name. She said, you give me
Oh,
your last name, I feel more empowered as your wife to do these things as than your friend. She would feel more comfortable telling people, hey, yeah, I'm making this phone call to this lawyer. Who are you? His wife. You know what I'm
okay.
saying? As opposed, oh, I'm just his friend or his girlfriend. I don't know what to say. So then when I was younger, I didn't me and her, because we were best friends, we had this real cynical attitude about marriage and how it's constructed in the United States because she come from a pro-black family. And we was like, F marriage. Like that ain't for us. But when she said that, I was like, wow, this is a lady that had transformed her life. She was in the streets with us. We was raising her kind of in the gang. And, her mother was impacted by the crack epidemic. But she made me promise her. She said, if I hold you down in here, you got to promise me when you get out, you're going to change your life. And
Wow.
I made that promise to her that I would never sell drugs. I would totally change my life. And furthermore, I thought like when I was getting ready to like seeing my appeals coming through, I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving Chicago. I'm never coming back. I'm going to Miami. I'm gonna do music. I was writing music and all of this stuff. I'm not coming back. This is the city that threw me away. And she was like, no. You got to go back to the hood. You got to go back to the same community that you was causing damage in, the same community that people looked up to you and followed you to hell. You got to come back and lead them out. that grave like
Wow.
Lazarus, And so I was like, no, I didn't want to. And so I made her that promise. I was like, hey, all right, I got you. Unfortunately, about a year before our anniversary, she passed away coming to see me. And that really kind of set me back a little bit, but it also led me to my purpose.
Yeah.
And recognizing that it was a time that I wanted to save her. In fact, that's how we fell out as friends. I tried to save this young lady because I was a guy that had 2 open hits out on him. And so I was dangerous to be around. And she used to always want to be around me and my friends. And so I seen her, she didn't really have a family. So I talked to the state representative to get her a scholarship. And the scholarship came through. I was so happy. I'm gonna buy her a car and send her off to college. And she was not going. And she was like, "No, I'm staying in the hood with you." Like, I was like, "No, you can't tell me no. I'm your leader. You gotta go." And she was so upset with me. Like, we literally, our friendship fractured because of that. But she went.
Okay.
And when she wrote me, her first letter was saying that I just want you to thank you for saving my life. I'm about to graduate college.
Wow.
And that's why she dedicated her life to saving me. You said, and so when she dedicated her life to saving me, she did her job. For years and years, I felt so guilty because she passed away in an accident coming to visit me. But somebody said something really profound to me that sticks with me to this day. It was never meant for me to save her life. It was meant for her to save mine so I can do what I'm doing today.
And that's the truth. Oh my goodness. That is a story. That is a journey. Oh my God.
So when you see me, I'm a product of Cherry. That's her name. Her favorite color was red. So that's my favorite color. All my cars are red, And so every promise that I ever promised her, I'm keeping. Right.
Wow. Yeah, Renita. Renita is the president. MJM Speaker Secretary. She says such an amazing story. But Gwen Dunbar has a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
She says, my question is, I think that it's beautiful the work you are doing. I want to know, streets are not pushing education, or many are in the streets because it's more glamorous than school. Do you have any solutions for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One of my mentors told me, if you're going to get out here and do this work, you have to be just as dynamic as what's leading them to the path of hell. So you have to be that's why I make the music that I make. I'm a really good writer. People say, well, you can write way better music than that. You can make beats that's more, because some of my music sound like hip hop, some of it sound like the music, but the message doesn't, right? The message in the music is not the same as theirs. It may sonically sound like what they're used to, and it's a method to that madness. But you have to appeal to what appeals to them. Yeah. If they like music and podcasting and gaming, we have to create gaming, music, and podcasting that throw that little message in there that subconsciously change the way that they behave. If you have if there's any pet lovers listening to me and ever had a sick pet, they don't like taking medicine. You know what I'm saying? If you get your dog a big old pill, you're gonna look like no. But if you crunch it up in his favorite dog food, he'll eat it, won't he? Right. He won't even know that he's taking medicine. He's thinking like you gave him a treat. And that's what I am. I present myself as the favorite dog food or the treat, but you don't know that you get in school. You don't know that I'm working on you. You don't know that I'm pulling on your soul. You don't know that I'm evaluating you and I've got something better. I got a plan for you. So while you oohing and ahhing about me and my swag and what type of car I drive and the music that I make, I'm really dropping knowledge on you. And that's for anybody that want to have a maximum impact. You can't be bland. You can't be colorless. Can't do this work in black and white. You got to come at them shorties in full Dolby Digital. put your 3D glasses on, baby.
Okay.
That's how you make maximum impact.
You know, and I agree with you. And I kind of take this and compare it to a lot of churches today. They do the old timey stuff. And so a lot of churches, including mine, mostly have senior citizens. And the thing is, it's like, oh, that music. I say, well, there's religious hip hop. There are religious comedians, make you fall out laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you have to come at them in their language and do what you're doing, dropping these bits of knowledge on them in their own vernacular, in their own language, because that's the way you reach them. And so I think that is great. Plus the fact people listen to people who have been there. So in other words, couldn't do what you do because, excuse me, you're authentic, where I wouldn't be coming from that. You know what I'm saying? You understand
Let
what
me
I'm
tell you
saying?
something about that. That might hold true in some cases. And the people
Okay.
that used to be in the old guard of violence prevention, people used to think that, hey, let me
Okay.
get this ex-gang leader and just throw him in the mix and he'll just tell them what to do. Not so much these days.
Okay.
These days, I can take you right to my hood right now and say,
Okay.
hey, this is my girl right here. Treat her with the same respect you treat me. If they see the love, that if you got that love and that genuine love for them, and you come in with some resources, because that's what they need. People are
Okay.
not coming with things that these individuals need. It's a carrot and a stick thing. Today I had a peace circle. I offered $25 stipends for people to pay up. We had a line out the door. So yeah, you might have to entice them a little bit, but once I get you in that room, baby, it's over with, right? And so that's what the method you have to take. They didn't care about a lot of the people in the room. I had my case managers in there, people that been to college and academics. They're gonna get the same respect that I get if you co-sign. It's called credible messenger. If a credible messenger gives the cosign to a Dr. Fortman, it's just like reality is walking up that block. You pull up, they're gonna be like, hey, that's Mrs. Foreman. Don't, hey, she good over here, because you
Okay.
come in with resources, you come in with love. These young men, they're so hyper vigilant on and got their antennas up because it's all about survival. Anybody that come with some BS, they gonna see right through you. They gonna know you just doing this for a job. They gonna know that you ain't really invested in them. But if you come in with the true love, I seen them tell some of my staff members that don't have half the background that I got, man, I ain't never had nobody really care about me like this.
Oh, wow.
And they've been impacted, and that's what when you get somebody to restore hope and love back into somebody and they doing it in a genuine way, yeah, my story might be encouraging to them, but the system that I got set up, everybody not going to have that same story, you know.
Okay. I got you. So Marcy referred back to your story, and she said it is so powerful.
Mhm.
So, when you talk about resources, what resources do you need, or organizations like yours? What resources?
First of all, time is a resource. If you're
Okay.
not willing to lift up your sleeves and spend some time in the trenches with these young men and women, then it's not enough. If you can throw money at problems all the time, a lot of people expect you to say money, money, and we did have that on our wall today. What are the top 5 things that people need and resources was on them, and we had people standing by each one of the things that they felt like the youth needed. So
Uh-huh.
some people stood by resources, some people stood by leadership, some people stood by love, some people stood by parenting. You need all of those things. You need
Okay.
all of those things and to work in conjunction with one another to build a solid foundation to erase. I would add like mental health and trauma informed care and things of that nature. We need all of those things to pull ourselves out that grave, like Jesus did not Lazarus. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so we need a combination of things, but time. If you're not looking at a 5, 10 year, 20-year investment, because it's not gonna happen overnight. If I have $100 million per year just for this 1 year, and then the funding gets cut, the next year, it's not gonna work. And
Yeah.
so we need time. We need to invest in the children, but we also need to pour into the parents of these children too. A lot of them are going through substance abuse or trauma or things of that nature. So we have to invest in them as well.
Okay. So how large is your particular organization?
We're a small organization. I was so happy to come back to my community. I've been doing violence prevention since I came home since 2017. And so having this opportunity to come back to my community, um, probably we're about 13 or 14 street outreach workers and case managers and victim service people. Then we have back office people like our grant managers and our, accounting people, so I'm over about 30 people in total.
Okay.
But I was happy to come back and employ a lot of the same people that were in the streets with me, that were considered oppositions and enemies, and bringing everybody together to kind of commit to saving the community.
Okay. So what is your most of your revenue come from?
We're not for profit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I get an seizure grant, and I'm funded by the city, the AG's office,
Okay. Oh,
the state's attorney's office.
okay. So, okay, I got another text here. Okay. What would you tell someone who would like to do what you are doing?
I would give them the same advice that my mentor gave me. You got to be dynamic. You have to you have to buy into what it is that we do. I didn't even know I didn't know what all it entailed. I just knew I was passionate about changing people's lives. And I was passionate about changing my life, first of all. I didn't want to do the same things I was doing. And I used this as an escape. I never had a real job a day in my life. This is my first real career path, and so I took the baton, and I didn't need an alarm clock to wake up. I'm the first one at work, last one to leave. That's the mentality that I had coming into it, and it was all about the participant. My goal was to remain participant centered. You know,
Okay. Okay. So you got a degree in psychology
hmm
and then inner city studies.
hmm
So and
Also,
I
also business too, but
oh my goodness.
and I'm
Okay.
and I'm certified, and I got like 14 certifications and different things.
14 certifications. Are you finished with school or you still going?
You never stop learning, and I wouldn't even call it school. When a training come about or a certification come about, I take advantage of it.
Okay.
So I was really underpaid my first 5 or 6 years. So all I could do with these companies is get them to train me or tap into that fund where they professional development fund. I remember
Okay.
one time real
Oh, yeah.
quickly that I was up for a raise, and these organizations, they have pay scales. And because I was fresh out, I was like a little star in the organization, but I didn't really have like this long tenure. So they wanted to pay me like the least amount of money. Like you get paid maybe from 52,000 to 59. Well, I want the 58. They like, no, we're gonna give you 52.5. So I found out that these organizations, yeah, they have the money set aside to pay salaries, but they also got this another pot of money for professional development. So I negotiated $53,000, but first dibs on the professional development money. So that means you have to send me to school, you have to do me college reimbursement, you have to any type of trainings, When I got through with them people, HR was telling me like, "Hey, we should have just gave you the extra couple thousand because you might end up costing us 25, 30,000 with all of these degrees and certifications and tuition and all that stuff. So they should have just paid me, the couple thousand,
Smart. Okay, another question. Okay. In doing what you do, what has been your biggest high and or your biggest disappointing low?
My biggest high was my mother watching me receive the Mutual America Award for outstanding work. Someone that's broken my mother's heart many, many times, and her questioning what I was going to actually come home and do. Just watching watch me receive that award. It was and just all the people going up to her saying, "We proud of your son, proud of your son." And so, yeah. And I would say that's tied with the billboard that was in our neighborhood. It really meant a lot to me and my mother. I was arrested right by the library. In fact, it's a liquor store called Colonies right on the corner of 76 and Racine. I got arrested right there. And people told me my mother came right there and was looking for me because they said, "They arresting your son there." When I got in the police car, the police told me to take a good look around because you would never see this neighborhood again.
Ooh.
24 years later, there was a billboard with my face on it advertising my documentary on PBS for firsthand gun violence in almost feet, about maybe 5 or 6 feet away from where I was arrested. And my mother called me crying and saying that she had seen this billboard at the same place she was crying at 24 years earlier because they had arrested me there.
So for you people who are audible and not viewers, go to YouTube and I watched it.
You watched firsthand?
Yes,
thank you. You do your research on people before they come on your show.
I gotta do my research on people, but for those who are watching, take a screenshot. I'm going to give you a chance to take a screenshot. Okay. So, but anyway, yeah. For the
ones who just Google my name, they can just Google my name, Reality Out Loud. It'll pop up.
Right, Google his name, and after you finish searching through everything that he's done, then you'll finally come to that YouTube. But anyway, here's another question here from Vanessa Glover. Mm-hmm. She says, reality story is amazing and should be on the news. What brief message would he give to youngsters in gangs if they were listening to your programs?
If they're already in a gang, I have never told no one not to leave their gang. I wouldn't start off doing that.
Okay.
I tell young people that are
hold on. Are you calling to ask a question for this show I'm on right now?
No.
Well, then call me back. Bye. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would just say the behavior needs to change. Most Chicago gangs are not rooted in criminogenic behavior. These gangs have what they call literature. The literature is to provide guidance. And if you really go back to the original literature of these organizations or gangs, because they were just recently called gangs, they used to be called nations or organizations. And so the nation concept that Chicago original gang leaders came up was this nation concept, a nation within a nation. They had their own language, they spoke a certain way, they dressed a certain way, they had certain territories, but they were to protect the community, they were to provide resources to the community and things of that nature. So it's nothing per se about the gang or organization that is criminogenic or illegal itself if they're going to the true tenets. So that's why I don't start off by saying you need to leave your gang. You need to drop criminogenic behavior. you need to realize that some of the things you're doing, I can provide you a crystal ball because I probably done it, and I can show you the outcome, right? I can show you the times I was shot at, the times I went to prison, all of the things, the heartbreak, all of that I can show them. So that's kind of what I would kind of lead them, and maybe have some questions to see why. Oftentimes, I'm more of a listener than I am a talker. I know I'm talking a lot tonight, but when I meet young people, I like to listen. I like to ask questions. I like to do an assessment in my head of what they might need, what they're going through. I study behavior for a living, so I'm inquisitive.
Okay, so gee, we better watch you when we in our Toastmasters meetings. Because wait a minute, he's studying us, y'all. So I have this question of mine, and I'm trying to find what is ethical non-monogamy.
Sure. So ethical non-monogamy is a relationship dynamic in which the relationship is open to several other different types of relationship dynamics. It's non-monogamous, but done on in an ethical way where all parties are in agreement to the non-monogamy. So it's not exclusivity unless you say it's exclusivity. And you could be exclusive to two people. You could be faithful to two people. You could be faithful to three or four people. So that's what the ethical part come in at. I do not condone cheating in no form or fashion as it relates to relationships. If my favorite crush, if she was married, I would not even deal with her if she had to cheat, And so ethical ethical non-monogamy is one in which all parties are in agreement, and it promotes the healthy and wholeness of the other person, So it's not cheating.
So you coach couples, you saying individuals,
Mm-hmm.
if they are already in a non-monogamous, I guess that's how you say it.
Or if they're curious about non-monogamy and doing it in an ethical way, I do that.
Can we be in a non-monogamy?
No, see, don't start. Don't start. Don't start. You have to realize, a lot of people don't realize that this was the way of the world. This was the way of the world at one point in time. And not saying I'm using this as an excuse, but about 75% of the world was polygamous at one point in time. And so it's not foreign. European culture made monogamy, made monogamy a thing again, and so it's not foreign. As a recently, I started coaching like foreigners, like people that's coming from Saudi Arabia and other Islamic countries where polygamy and things of that nature is permitted. However, it's not ethical here because of the treatment of the way they treat women. So I have a whole program about how to treat women in ethical non-monogamy. You got these guys coming from countries where women that can't even have a license. They can't even drive. Like they can't have a job. They don't have rights. So now you come to the United States and you think you're going to treat your wife like that? Nah. So I coach them as well. I got a client recently that has a house in Dubai, has a house here, has a house in India, in these multi-millionaire, obviously, and he treats women like garbage. So now now he loves me because of the way that I've taught him. He's seeing that in return. That by treating your woman with respect, by giving her some dignity, it's not even diminishing you at all. You're getting it back in a lot of dividends, and so that's what I do.
So who asked for your coaching, him or one of his wives?
Him.
Oh, because they were rebelling.
Well, he got referred from a friend of his.
Okay.
And he was skeptical at first, and they a lot of Muslims are really conservative and they really hard to get to. They stuck in their ways. I practiced Islam for 20 something years, so I know. You know, I'm not a Muslim now, but I definitely know how they think.
Okay, Sandy Barney Ennis. Allah, you admitted to being terrified of drugs because of what you saw in your personal life, and it caused you to shy away. I came from 35th Street, the land of drugs. I saw my family and other families shrink to almost not existing due to drugs. How is it that they saw what I saw and still tried it anyway? They became junkies, overdosed, went to jail, and died at early ages. It felt as though the rabbit hole sucked them all in eventually. My brother and I were lucky. My mom moved us away. So that was just a comment. And
There was a question in there.
Was it? Well, we only got like 8 minutes, so you got to answer the question quickly.
Okay. So I'm probably the exception. I would admit that everybody is not able to look at something like that and not be even curious. Let me try this or let me do this. Like what happened with me was studying addictive behavior. I realized I was just addicted to other things, addicted to money, addicted to the lifestyle, the selling of the drugs and things of that nature. I tell people this all the time. Some of the biggest drug dealers are more addicted to than some of the people that do the drugs. I had plenty of opportunities to walk away from. I was making so much money. I bought my first home at 19 cash, and so I could have just walked away. People were telling me all the time, coming in with business opportunities. That's how I got into writing music and producing music at that age to clean up my money. I didn't realize that I had a gift, and so I was more addicted to the lifestyle. And that's what happens. You might not be addicted to one thing, but we all have addictive personality traits. And I was addicted to that money.
Okay. So the last question, and from Gwen Dunbar, what kind of advice do you give to men who mistreat or abuse their partners?
I teach according to people's own experience and knowledge. If I'm teaching somebody that studies the Quran, I go to the Quran and look in the surahs and I find ways to talk to them. If I'm talking to a Christian, I might talk to them a certain way. If I'm talking to somebody that is more I find out who they are, what their interests are, what their aptitude is, and I speak a language that they can relate to kind of give them an idea of what is the benefit of being abusive.
Okay.
And that's kind of the approach that I give them. Not to mention that it's illegal and immoral, and so I don't really go down the morality track a lot, but I try to look at a cost benefit analysis. That's how, especially men, they are more acceptable to that logic than not. But a lot of women are it's not just men that want multiple partners or they are abusive. It's a lot of misconceptions about ethical non-monogamy that's a whole nother show you could go into. It's not just men want a bunch of women. I have women that date multiple men, one woman that's married to one guy and got 3 boyfriends and all type of stuff, right? So it's different dynamics.
Okay, well, you know what? What would you like? I've got 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that means 2 sentences. What would you like to leave my audience with?
I just want to leave your audience with, I think everybody has a past. You never know who you might run into or who might change your life or what words that you could say to someone, or when you look at someone, you can't judge them by, what they're wearing or things of that nature. I know we inherently do, but I think that you never know the impact of your presence in somebody's life, whether it's somebody who's standing in line. I really think that anytime you wake up and you are around somebody else, you have the opportunity to change their life. Knowing that you have that responsibility, I hope that you act accordingly.
All right. Thank you so much, Reality. I gotta go. But when I see you again, I really want to know, did your mom name you Reality, or is that your
Father. You know, my mother hate that name, but no,
Okay. All
that's
right.
my father. That's my father's side of the family.
Okay. All right, Reality. It was just wonderful to really get to know you. And it's awesome. You are so inspirational and motivational. And I congratulate you, and I wish you all of the success in the world. I know there's some other things coming in we didn't talk about, but guess what, y'all?
That's for another show. We
He gonna
invite
be
you back.
famous. Wait a minute, he's famous now, but he really gonna be famous. All right, Reality, you take care, and you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you and the viewers and everybody that asked me questions. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace. Wow. That was great. Oh my goodness. So if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole show, because I can see when people come in and they miss quite a bit of it, you can watch the recording on YouTube. You will be amazed at this young man and his journey. So I will see you all again next week on Relationship Matters TV. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. So have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.